Hi everyone, this is Farhan. Welcome back to the channel. And let's start. Multiple choice question of AS level, May June 2025, variance 12. Let's start with the paper. Okay. So, first of all, consider the following statements. Silicon dioxide has a higher melting point than sulfur dioxide. By the way, silicon dioxide has a giant covalent structure, giant molecular structure with a strong covalent bonding. And therefore it has higher melting point. So this statement is right. Sulfur dioxide, on the other hand, has a simple molecular structure. With weak van der Waals forces, it has low melting point. Okay. So first statement is right, technically. In the next statement, ammonia has a higher boiling point than phosphine pH 3. That's also true, by the way, because ammonia exhibits hydrogen bonding and pH 3 exhibits van der Waals forces. And you know, hydrogen bonding is stronger than van der Waals forces. And so it has high boiling point. So both statement 1 and 2 is correct, and therefore A is going to be the right answer. Okay, next is how many neutrons are contained in an atom of iron with a mass number of 60. So examiner is looking for the number of neutrons in iron. Now iron has a symbol of Fe. Its mass number is 60, and obviously its atomic number is 26. To get the number of neutrons, I need to subtract both the values. Sixty minus 26 is going to be, I think, 34. 60 minus 26 is going to be 34. So number of neutron is going to be 34. So C is going to be the right answer. Question number 3. The diagram shows a Boltzmann distribution of molecular energies for a gaseous reaction at two different temperature and two different activation energies. Which combination of temperature and activation energy will give the highest rate of reaction? By the way, when we talk about highest rate of reaction, we need to consider two different scenarios. Higher temperature, higher the rate of reaction. And using catalyst, increases the rate of reaction because number of proportion molecules increases. So this lowers the activation energy, okay? And so rate of reaction increases. By the way, according to the concept, this represents the higher activation energy because it has less proportion of molecules which undergoes effective collision in a unit time. So this activation energy represents without a catalyst, because it has minimum proportion of molecule, and this activation energy represents with catalyst, as it has more proportion of molecule. How? Let me show you. For EA1, this is the number of proportion of molecules. Okay. Now, on the other hand, let's talk about temperature. T1 has a lower temperature, whereas T2 has a high temperature, because when temperature increases, curve flattens and shifts maximum towards right hand side, and this lowers the most probable energy also. So this graph represents the same conceptual explanation, in which curve maximum shifts towards right hand side with the lower probable energy. All right, so T2 and EA1 both will give the highest rate, and which is why D is going to be the right answer. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Next, question number 4. Okay. The reaction between sulfur dioxide and oxygen has the equation. Okay. So enthalpy change is basically negative, which means reaction is exothermic. 1 mole of SO2, 1 mole of oxygen are placed in a closed container and heated to a constant temperature. At this temperature, 0.8 moles of sulfur dioxide are present in the equilibrium mixture, which statement is correct. So now we need to solve the entire equation, and it is very, very difficult for me to accommodate this information here alone. What we can do is, okay, let's start with here. This is 2 moles of sulfur dioxide reacting with 1 mole of oxygen, converting into sulfur dioxide. So the initial moles of SO2 is 1, initial moles of oxygen is 1. Initially, they are not reacting, and therefore there will be no product. Hence, sulfur dioxide is 0. Okay. Now let me check the reacted amount or reacted moles. Look at this. 0.8 moles of sulfur dioxide are present at equilibrium. Okay. Which means 0.8 moles should react from the reactant side. So reacted moles is going to be 0.8. Let's talk about equilibrium moles. 0.8 moles of sulfur dioxide is present. And since sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide has a similar ratio, which means जितने मोल्स यहाँ पर फॉर्म हुए हैं exactly उतने ही मोल्स सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड से रिमूव भी होंगे, रिएक्ट भी हुए होंगे. सो इनिशियली अगर आपके पास 1 मोल था, उसमें से 0.8 मोल्स रिएक्ट हो गए, तो ऑब्वियसली 0.2 मोल्स बच जाएंगे आपके पास. ओके, let me get the moles of oxygen at equilibrium. See, this sulfur dioxide and oxygen has 2:1 ka ratio. When we had 0.8 moles of oxygen at equilibrium, so because of 2:1 ratio, the reacted amount would be 0.4. Okay. So moles of oxygen at equilibrium would be 0.4. No, I think no. Let me explain it again. I think because of limited space, moles of oxygen reacted. Sulfur dioxide and oxygen has 2:1 का रेशियो. अगर यहां से 0.8 मोल्स रिएक्ट हुए थे तो यहां से 0.4 मोल्स रिएक्ट होंगे. ओके. माय गुडनेस, देयर इज नो स्पेस फॉर वर्किंग. So moles of oxygen at equilibrium. Initially 1 mole. Reacted moles would be 0.4. So remaining amount at equilibrium is 0.6. So that's the correct working actually. The moles of oxygen at equilibrium is 0.6. Okay. Um, let me get the total moles. That's 0.2 plus 0.6 plus 0.8. So it's going to be how much? 1.6 mole. First of all, keep the constant. If in order to calculate the value of Kp, the unit should be Pascal or kilopascal, cannot be the concentration, because concentration की जो unit है वो Kc के लिए use होती है. So this is going to be the incorrect option. Okay. Now option A, the equilibrium partial pressure of sulfur dioxide is greater. Equilibrium partial pressure. To get the partial pressure of sulfur dioxide, हम formula use करेंगे. Moles of sulfur dioxide at equilibrium would be 0.2 divided by total moles, or 1.6. So it's going to be 0.2 divided by 1.6, 0.125. Similarly, let me get the partial pressure of oxygen. So for partial pressure of oxygen, moles of oxygen, which is 0.6, total moles is 1.6. 0.6 divided by 1.6 is going to be 0.375. So obviously, partial pressure of sulfur dioxide is lower than the partial pressure of oxygen, whereas examiner is saying the partial pressure of sulfur dioxide is greater. So it's not greater, it is lower, and therefore option A is also incorrect. Okay. At lower temperature, the equilibrium amount of sulfur trioxide is lower than 0.8 moles. By the way, reaction is exothermic. Okay. So in an exothermic reaction, if we decrease the temperature according to Lee-Schecter's principle, equilibrium favors towards right-hand side. If equilibrium favors towards right-hand side, yield of sulfur trioxide increases. If yield of sulfur trioxide increases, obviously the value is not going to be lower, it should be higher. So again, C is also incorrect, I believe. And since A wrong, B wrong, C wrong, the correct answer is going to be D. The mole fraction of SO3 is less than 0.8. Let me find out this. Is it correct or not? Mole fraction is basically what? I've told you in the class, mole fraction is basically moles of gas over total moles. Moles of gas, moles of sulfur dioxide is 0.8 and total moles is 1.6. So if you divide these two values, 0.8 divided by 1.6 is going to be 0.5. So that's true, that the mole fraction of sulfur dioxide is lower than 0.8, which is 0.5. So D is going to be the right answer, okay? That's a very, very, very tough question because it has limited space and it requires a lot of working actually. And I hope it makes sense to you. Now in the next question, question number 5, lead is a red pigment with the formula Pb3O4. Pb3O4. Each formula unit contains 3 lead ions and 4 oxide ions. Lead has 2 different oxidation states in red lead. Okay. So 2 different oxidation states of lead indicates it has +2 oxidation state also. It has +4 oxidation state also. And it has oxide ion. Oxide has 2 minus charge. Well, that's so easy. What is the oxidation state of lead in red lead? +2 and +4. So that's C. C is going to be the right answer. Okay. But let me give you some sort of explanation here. Well, we have Pb 2 plus and when we have O2 minus. So since charges are same, they will cancel out with each other. So the formula is going to be PbO. When we have 4 plus ions and combined with O2 plus, it's going to be Pb2O4. In other words, it could be PbO2. All right. So technically, this red lead contains these two oxides, PbO and PbO2. When you combine these two oxides, you will get Pb3O4. And that's what the examiner has written in the question. I hope it makes sense to you. What's the point of giving Pb3O4? वो आया कैसे है आपके पास? And what's the logic behind that? Okay. My goodness. Some standard enthalpy of combustion data is given. Okay. Using the data, what is the enthalpy change of formation of methanol? Oh, my goodness. There is no space again. Let me draw the equation first. Methanol is... I don't have any space right now. My goodness. What should I do? This is CH3OH. This is methanol. In order to make methanol, I need carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen as a constituent elements. And that's what we need to find the value. Okay. We have 4 hydrogen atoms, so we need to put 2 here. We have 1 oxygen, so we need to put half here. And all of them exist under standard condition. Okay. And methanol is liquid at RTP. Remember that. Now the combustion data is given. When combustion data is given, arrow needs to be downward. Will turn to carbon dioxide. Arrow downward will turn to water. And when methanol undergoes combustion, it will turn to both carbon dioxide and water. The value of combustion of carbon is given, which is -394. The value of combustion of hydrogen is given, which is -286 multiplied by 2 because we have 2 moles. And the combustion value of -726. Make a clockwise direction arrow. Obviously, this value and this value comes positive, while these two values becomes negative, equals to 0. You will get the answer. Let me arrange the value. Standard enthalpy change of formation plus -726 minus -394 minus -286 times 2 equals to 0. Then standard enthalpy change of formation -726 plus 394 plus 286 times 2 equals to 0. Let me get the value from them. Let me check. 286 times 2, 572 plus 394 minus 726 plus 240 minus 240. It's going to be minus 240 kilojoules per mole. The right answer is going to be an A. Oh my goodness. Next question, question number 7. Which row is correct? Smallest bond angle. Oh my goodness. This is 104.5 degree. This is 120 degree. Obviously, smallest is wrong. This is 107 degree. This is 104.5 degree. So among the smallest, this could be the right answer. Okay, or ye bhi smaller hai. Largest 120, 104.5 degree, 120, and 107 degree. And this is 120 degree. Obviously, it's going to be incorrect. 107, 104.5 degree. Obviously, ये भी गलत हो जाएगा. The right answer is going to be an A. I think A is the right answer, but let me give you another sort of approach. So my approach could be like this. Water has 1,4. Ammonia has an angle of 107 degree, and BF3 is 120 degree. So this is the smallest. This is bigger than water, and that is the largest bond angle. And I believe A is going to be the right answer. So you don't need to go for B, C, and D. I think अगर आप सिर्फ ऑप्शन ए को सॉल्व करें तो आपको पूरा का पूरा जो बॉन्ड एंगल स्मॉलेस्ट लार्जेस्ट है वो मिल जाएगा. And therefore A is going to be the right answer. Okay, that's an easy question, guys. Oh my goodness. Next, question number 8. In the Haber's process, the reaction between two gases reactants requires the use of a catalyst, and the catalyst in this case is iron. That contains a transition element, and iron is a transition element. What is metal, and which mole ratio do these gases react? By the way, nitrogen and hydrogen are reacting together, converting into ammonia. We have 2 moles of nitrogen here, so I'll put 2 here. We have 6 hydrogen atoms here, so I'll put 3 here. So the ratio between nitrogen and hydrogen is going to be 1:3. So 1:3 ratio, and iron is the right answer, and therefore we conclude that B is going to be the right answer for us. Question number 9. Aqueous hydrogen peroxide decomposes into water and oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide, when decomposes, it will turn to water and oxygen. To balance the equation, I need to put 2 here. 50 cm cube of 0.5 mole per dm cube solution of hydrogen peroxide produces 120 cm cube of oxygen in 2 minutes. So guys, 2 minutes means 120 seconds. Okay. The volume of gas was measured at room condition. Okay. What is the average rate of decomposition of hydrogen peroxide during the 2 minutes period? So, well, how much hydrogen peroxide has been decomposed in this process, that can be that information can be collected through volume of oxygen gas produced. Okay, because yahan se jitna hydrogen peroxide react hoga utna amount of oxygen produce karega. So first of all, let me get the moles of oxygen. 120 divided by 24,000. 120 divided by 24,000 is going to be 5 into 10 to the power minus 3 moles. In this next step, I'm going to compare H2O2 and oxygen According to the equation, it has 2 moles, it has 1 mole. When we have 5 into 10 to the power minus 3 moles, the moles of H2O2 is going to be 0.01 mole. Now ये जो 0.01 मोल है ये 50 cm क्यूब में है. So 50 cm cube gives you 0.01 mole. To get the concentration, I'm going to compare it with 1000 into 1000 divided by 50. It's going to be 0.2 mole per dm cube. So this is going to be the change in concentration, guys. This is the concentration, change in concentration, okay? To get the rate, the formula is change in concentration, which is 0.2, divided by time taken, which is 120 seconds. Why we need seconds? Because seconds are given in the unit, okay? So 0.2 divided by 120 is going to be 1.666 into 10 to the power minus 3. So 1.666 is basically 1.7 into 10 to the power minus 3. So on the basis of that, I can conclude that C is going to be the right answer, okay? Question number 10. The average intermolecular forces in water are much stronger. Why? Because water exhibits hydrogen bonding, and hydrogen bonding is stronger than van der Waals forces. And in steam, there is no hydrogen bonding, only van der Waals forces, which are weaker. Okay. So average intermolecular forces of ice are slightly stronger than the average intermolecular forces in water. Why? This is because in ice is solid, and solid has slightly higher van der Waals forces. I've told you in the class, okay? And in water, the particles are a little far away from each other, which is why van der Waals force is slightly weaker. So in this second statement, examiner is comparing the van der Waals forces, whereas in the first statement, examiner is comparing the hydrogen bonding versus van der Waals forces, okay? So you need to remember this. Enthalpy changes are associated with the equilibrium process shown. This is liquid, this is gas. So liquid will turn into gas. This process is called boiling, and boiling is always endothermic because energy absorption process है. So delta H is positive. In the second equation, solid will turn to liquid. This is called melting. It is also energy absorption process. And its delta H is positive. Okay. Which statements are correct? Delta HB and delta HM are both negative. That's absolutely incorrect because both of them are endothermic because energy absorption process. Okay. Delta HB is greater than delta HM. Delta HB, boiling is greater than melting. That's true because in water exhibits hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding is stronger than van der Waals forces in ice, which means it requires more amount of energy to break the forces, and therefore delta Hb is greater than delta Hm. So the second statement is correct. Third, the intermolecular forces in ice and water are of the same type. Yes, both of them exhibits van der Waals forces. In the second statement, it is comparing van der Waals forces. Okay, so third statement is also right. So 2 and 3 statement are correct, and therefore I believe D is going to be the right answer. Okay. An experiment is carried out to determine the value of X in hydrated lithium hydroxide. The formula of hydrated lithium hydroxide is this. Sample of the solid is heated in a crucible over a Bunsen flame. Complete dehydration takes place. Decomposition does not occur. Which equation gives the correct value of X? Okay. Uh, this is mass of empty crucible. This is mass of crucible plus residue after heating. So if I'll subtract these two values, obviously I'm going to get mass of lithium hydroxide. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I'll subtract these two values, I'll get mass of lithium hydroxide. So that's very tough. Mass of lithium hydroxide residue, that is S minus Q. Okay. And when I'll subtract these two values, I'll get mass of water. Mass of water lost. So it's basically nope, 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 nope. Yes. If I'll subtract these two values, I'll get mass of water. So it's basically S minus R. Okay. An examiner is looking for the value of X. Mhm. Let me get the, let me take out the MR of lithium hydroxide. Lithium hydroxide is an MR of 23.9. This is lithium hydroxide and this is water. So mass of lithium hydroxide is minus S minus Q. To get the moles, I need to divide this value by its relative molecular mass, which is 23.9. To get the mass of water lost, I need to subtract S minus R. To get the number of moles, I need to divide this mass by 18. Now let's equate this value. It's going to be S minus Q over 23.9 equals to S minus R divided by 18. So if you cross multiply it, you will get 23.9 S minus R divided by 18 S minus Q. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Did I make some mistake? My bad. No, 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 no. This mass has to be higher than this one. So I need to subtract R minus S. Okay. That's tricky. It has to be R minus S, not S minus R, because wait, let me check. Let me check one more time. R minus S. Why? Because when you subtract these two values, you will get mass of lithium hydroxide. That's true. Obviously, this mass is greater than this one. So obviously, we need to subtract S from Q. Okay, that's true. Now, to get the mass of water, I need to subtract these two values. And obviously, this value is greater than this one because this contain water, this contain without water. So this mass has water, well, this mass has no water, which means this mass is greater than this one. So I need to subtract R minus S. So R minus S, R minus S. So it's going to be R minus S and 18 S minus Q. So what is going to be the correct thing? C is going to be the right answer, I believe. So this question is very easy, but you need to understand one thing कि कौन सी वैल्यू को किस में से सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है, which one is higher value, which one is lower value. You need to understand that thing. So you have to be very, very careful in this question, okay? Some sample of an ideal gas occupied 24 dm cube at 37 degrees Celsius and 100 kilopascal. How many moles of gas are present in the sample? Okay, one more thing. 1 cm cube equals to 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 meter cube. So when we have 240 cm cube, volume is going to be how much? Let me calculate. Volume is going to be 2.4 into 10 to the power minus 4. Okay. Second thing is pressure. Pressure is 1 kilopascal equals to 1000 pascal. In question, we have 100 kilopascal. So pressure is going to be how much? 100,000 pascal. Okay. Now we have temperature. Temperature is degrees Celsius plus 273. So degrees Celsius is 37 degrees Celsius plus 273. It's going to be 310 Kelvin. I can apply PV equals to nRT on this question. We need to find the value of N. So PV divided by RT. P is pressure, which is 100,000. Volume is 2.4 into 10 to the power minus 4 divided by R. R is universal gas constant. Its value is fixed, 8.31. Temperature is 310. So the value of N from here is going to be 24 divided by, let me check, 310 into 8.31 is going to be 2576.1. So 24 divided by answer is going to be 9.31 into 10 to the power minus 3 mole. And that's the examiner is looking for. 9.31 into 10 to the power minus 3. So right answer is going to be B. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. That is question number 13. Under certain conditions, CCl4 and H2O react as shown. The activation energy for the reaction is plus 62 kilojoule per mole, and that indicates a relatively higher activation energy. Okay. Uh, and standard and oh my goodness, um, the enthalpy change is exothermic because delta H value is negative. Enthalpy profile diagram best fits this reaction. Since reaction is exothermic, which is why energy of product is lower than that of reactant, which means this option is incorrect because that represents endothermic. That represents also endothermic. So both B and C are incorrect. Now A and D could be the right option because both of them are exothermic. Since it has a very little amount of activation energy, very low, which means it cannot be the right answer. And ultimately, this represents significant amount of activation energy, that is plus 60 something, and therefore I believe D is going to be the right answer. Okay. So in A, there is no significant amount of activation energy, whereas examiner is saying that it has plus 62 kilojoule per mole of activation energy, and that reflects only D, which is why D is going to be the right answer. Okay. That's a question. Oh my goodness. A helium ion contain two protons, two neutrons, and one electron. So let me get the composition of helium ion. Helium is the particle. Let me get the mass. To get the mass, I need to add two protons and two neutrons. So it's going to be 4. Let me get the charge from here. So examiner is saying plus 2 proton which means plus 2, and 1 electron which means it is minus 1. So charge is going to be plus 1. So helium ion has a plus 1 charge. So to get the charge to mass ratio, it's going to be plus 1 by 4. Okay. So helium ion has this sort of composition. It has charge to mass ratio of plus 1 by 4. Now examiner is saying proton are passed separately through a uniform electric field. Proton is another charged particle. Its mass is 1 and its charge is plus 1 because it is positively charged. So charge to mass ratio is going to be plus 1 by 1. So you will get 1. That means proton has a higher charge to mass ratio. Will deflect least. And this one has lower mass to charge ratio. So it will deflect most. Also, both proton and helium are positively charged particles, so they will deflect towards negative plate, which means first and second line are incorrect. Third is also incorrect because there is no deflection that represents neutron. Okay. So I 5 and 4 represents helium ion and proton. Now which one deflects most? I think helium ion deflects most, which means this 4 represents helium ion because it is deflecting most. This represents proton because it deflects less. So proton is 5 and helium is 4, and therefore C is going to be the right answer. Okay. The skeletal formula of arginine and lysine are shown. Both arginine and lysine are amino acids. How can we determine it's an amino acid? Amino acid is a class of compound which contain both carboxylic and amino group. All right? Contain carboxylic and amino group. So both of them are amino acids. Which row is correct? Substance, arginine. We need empirical formula, we need MR. My goodness. So let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon atom. Let's count hydrogen. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this one is 14. 14 hydrogen atom. How many oxygen? 1, 2, 2 oxygen atom. How many nitrogen? 1, 2, 3, 4 nitrogen. Okay. Let me get the MR because examiner is looking for the MR also. 12 times 6 plus 14 plus 32 plus 14 times 4 is going to be 174. So arginine has an MR of 174. That's correct. Okay. And the empirical formula of arginine should be half of it. So it's C3H7O2, sorry, ON2. ON2. So C3H7ON2. So I think A is going to be the right answer. That's an easy thing. But let's talk about lysine also. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon atom. Let's count hydrogen. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this one is 14. How many oxygen atoms? 2. How many nitrogen atoms? 1, 2. Take out the MR of lysine. The MR of lysine is going to be 12 times 6 plus 14 plus 32 plus 28 is going to be 146. And the empirical formula of lysine should be half of it. So C3H7ON. So lysine is C3H7ON. Lysine is C3H7ON. That's correct. But MR is incorrect. It has to be 144. I believe 146 MR होना चाहिए. तो MR यहाँ पर 146 है, but यहाँ पर empirical formula गलत है, which is why ये option भी गलत, ये भी गलत. Arginine का empirical formula is correct, but MR is incorrect, which is why it is also incorrect. So A is going to be the right answer. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. The oxide and chloride of an element X are separately mixed with water. The two resulting solutions have the same effect on litmus. What could element be? By the way, aluminum forms AlCl3 and aluminum forms Al2O3. This will give you an acidic solution, but this will not give you an acidic solution because it is an amphoteric oxide. Obviously, this is going to be the incorrect option. Calcium chloride, soluble in water with a weak acidic solution, whereas calcium oxide dissolve in water to give an alkaline solution. All right. So this will give you an acidic solution. This will give you an alkaline solution. Obviously, there will not be the same effect on litmus. Obviously, this is going to be incorrect. Sodium forms sodium chloride, which is neutral, has no effect on litmus, right? Which means this is also incorrect. And therefore, D is going to be the right answer. But why D? Because that phosphorus forms chloride. It forms PCl3 and PCl5 both. And when they are dissolved in water, you will get an acidic solution of H3PO3, H3PO4, and HCl. That means you are getting an acidic solution. Okay. When we talk about oxides, like P4O6 or P4O10, when you place in water, they will turn into H3PO4 and H3PO3. That means they will give you an acidic solution again. So their chlorides and oxide both give an acidic solution, which is why they will have a same effect on litmus. Okay, and therefore D is going to be the right answer. All right, and that's the most important point I have told you when we were discussing chemical periodicity ka chapter. Okay, question number 17. Why do halogen becomes less volatile as group 17 descended? We have discussed this in class. When we move from top to bottom in a group of group 17, number of electrons increases. The number of electrons increases, the strength of van der Waals forces increases, volatility decreases, and therefore C is going to be the right answer. Okay. When van der Waals forces increases, examiner is saying it is weaker. So that's not correct. It has to be stronger. The stronger the van der Waals forces, the lower the volatility. Okay. And volatility has nothing to do with the bond energies. That's a very straightforward question, by the way. Question number 18. Compound M is a white solid. Okay. It is the chloride of period 3 elements. Sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, and aluminum chloride are white solids. Could be sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, and aluminum chloride. Okay. Silicon tetrachloride is a liquid. PCl3 is a liquid. PCl5 is a liquid. Okay. So information about some reactions starting with compound M is given in the table. Compound N plus non-polar solvent, colorless solution. That means nothing will happen. Compound M added a little to a time to water, which means hydrolysis takes place. And when hydrolysis takes place, steamy fumes of Q, and Q is basically HCl, and colorless solution R. Okay. So obviously, sodium chloride cannot give you a steamy fumes of HCl when dissolved in water because it is soluble in water, it cannot react, it cannot hydrolyze. So sodium chloride has gone. Now competition exists between magnesium chloride and aluminum chloride. Magnesium chloride and aluminum chloride both give steamy fumes when treated with water, right? Because both of them gives acidic solution, and both of them gives colorless solution also. That's true. So either it could be magnesium chloride or aluminum chloride. So examiner ने हमें कुछ और टेस्ट भी दिए. वो कह रहे हैं fumes X tested with moist blue litmus paper. Blue litmus paper turns red. That indicates the presence of HCl. So that's confirmed. Now with colorless solution R, when few drops of NaOH is added plus excess NaOH, white precipitates appear, and these precipitates dissolve and give a colorless solution, and that indicates could be magnesium ion or aluminum ion because both of them gives white precipitate when few drops of NaOH is used. But when we talk about excess NaOH, aluminum ions dissolves, gives a colorless solution, which means it is aluminum ion, which means magnesium chloride not going to be the correct answer, which means aluminum chloride is going to be the correct answer, and therefore A is going to be the right answer. Okay. So I am one more time, let me repeat. Sodium chloride cannot hydrolyze with water. It is simply soluble in water, and also it cannot give you misty fumes of HCl. So this option is incorrect, and therefore D is incorrect. Okay. Also, when few drops of NaOH is used, white precipitates appear. That means these precipitates can only give magnesium ion or aluminum ion. Phosphorus cannot give this sort of test, and therefore phosphorus is also incorrect. Okay. Now competition exists between magnesium and aluminum. Magnesium is insoluble in excess NaOH, whereas aluminum is soluble in NaOH giving you a colorless solution, and that indicates the conformation of aluminum ion, and therefore A is going to be the right answer. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Question number 19. Which statement about strontium and its compound is correct? By the way, strontium hydroxide is more soluble than barium hydroxide. That's totally incorrect because it is less soluble. Because down the group, solubility of group 2 hydroxides increases. Strontium sulfate is more soluble than magnesium sulfate. Down the group 2 sulfates decreases. Solubility of group 2 sulfates decreases, so it is less soluble. Strontium nitrate has a lower thermal stability than calcium nitrate. It has a higher thermal stability because down the group, thermal stability of group 2 nitrates increases, and therefore D is going to be the right answer. But why D? Strontium is a stronger reducing agent than magnesium. That's true. Down the group, reducing power of group 2 metals increases because down the group, when atomic size increases, nucleus to valence electron attraction decreases. If nucleus to valence electron attraction decreases, which means the removal of electron becomes easier. The easier the removal of electron, the stronger the reducing agent. Because reducing agent दूसरे compound को reduce करते हैं, खुद oxidize होते हैं. खुद oxidize होंगे तो electron lose करेंगे. The easier the removal of electron, the stronger the reducing agent. And that's why D is the right answer. And we have discussed such issues in the class, right? Question number 20. Strontium bromide is warm with concentrated sulfuric acid. Oh, sorry, sodium bromide is warm with concentrated sulfuric acid. So when sodium bromide is used, I've given you two different equations. Let me write those two equations. Initially, it will turn to sodium hydrogen sulfate and fumes of HBr. Now, this fumes of HBr is reacting with sulfuric acid again, converting into bromine, and reduces itself into sulfur dioxide and water. Okay, दो और दो चार. All right. So, role of bromide ions here, the bromide ions are reducing agent. All halides ions are reducing agent except chloride. That's what we have discussed in the class. And sulfur in sulfuric acid has an oxidation state of +6. In sulfur dioxide, sulfur has an oxidation state of +4. So there is a change in oxidation state from +6 to +4. And obviously, the role of bromide ion is reducing agent, and therefore B is going to be the right answer. A reaction occurs when ammonium chloride is added to calcium hydroxide. Role of ammonium ion in this reaction. Well, that's an easy thing, but let me explain it. The logic behind this reaction. Ammonium chloride, when treated with calcium hydroxide, it will give you salt, water, and ammonia gas. I've told you in the class, whenever any ammonium salt react with any alkali, then always salt, water, and ammonia gas is given off. We have 2 chlorine here, so to balance 2 chlorine, we need to put 2 here. Since we have 2 hydroxide ions here, we need to put 2 here, and obviously 2 ammonia gas is given off. That's the molecular equation. Let me convert it into an ionic equation, and you know spectator ions will cancel out with each other. So the spectator ions, chloride ions, so the spectator ion is calcium ion. They will cancel out with each other. So the ionic equation for this reaction is going to be like this. It will turn to 2 moles of water and 2 moles of ammonia. Well, in equilibria chapter, I have told you that ammonium ions is a conjugate acid. It donates its proton. And you know this is OH minus. Accepts proton because conjugate base है. All right. On the basis of that, A is going to be the right answer because ammonium ion is a conjugate acid. It donates its proton. Now, the next question is element Y and Z are both in period 3. Element Y has the smallest atomic radius in period 3. By the way, if you remember, we have discussed this in class that the smallest atomic radius in period 3 shows chlorine. So, chlorine has the smallest atomic radius among period 3 elements. Okay. So, element Y is basically chlorine. One thing for sure. Okay. Next part of the question. There are only two elements in period 3 that have a lower melting point than element Z. If you remember, the melting point is sketch. This is so. Hold on. Let me. This is sodium. This is magnesium. This is aluminum. This is silicon. This is going to be the phosphorus. This is going to be sulfur, then chlorine, and then argon. Right? So this is phosphorus, and phosphorus has a higher boiling point than chlorine and argon, and these two elements have a lower melting point than element Z. So element Z is technically phosphorus. Okay. I hope it makes sense to you. Let me repeat again. This is silicon, this is aluminum, this is sodium, and this is, magnesium and sodium. So all these have high melting points. All right. So these metals, these elements have nothing to do with this statement. All right. Let me explain one more time. This is phosphorus, this is sulfur, this is chlorine, and this is argon. Now, chlorine and argon are the two elements which have a lower melting point as compared to phosphorus, because phosphorus exists in P4, chlorine exists in Cl2, and argon exists in monatomic state. Obviously, it has more electrons, so it has higher melting point. These have um, lower number of electrons, so they have low melting points, which means element Z can only be phosphorus. Okay. So if phosphorus and chlorine are reacting together, either they will turn into PCl3 or PCl5. So either PCl5 or PCl3. So obviously D is going to be the right answer because PCl3 is given. Okay. So 22 is D. 23. 1 gram of each 4 different compounds of group 2 elements are thermally decomposed. The residue in each decomposition is the oxide of the group 2 element. Um, the volume of the gas produced for each reaction is measured at room condition. Which substance produces the greatest volume of gas? Okay. Oh my goodness. So the MR of calcium hydroxide, calcium carbonate is 100. MR of calcium nitrate is 164. MR of calcium carbonate, let me find out. MR of calcium carbonate is basically 148. And MR of strontium nitrate is 212. Okay. Also, you need to remember one thing. When calcium carbonate decomposes, it will turn to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. That means it gives you only 1 mole of gas. When calcium nitrate is decomposed on heating, you need to remember that it gives you technically 5 moles of gases. Okay. Strontium carbonate gives you 1 mole of carbon dioxide only. And strontium nitrate gives you 5 moles of gases, okay? And we need to check which one has the greatest volume of gas, which will give you. So let me check. 1 gram is the mass of sample, so 1.0 divided by 100, you will get moles. And since 1:1 का ratio, तो into जो moles कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट के होंगे वही कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड के होंगे. मोल्स ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड आ गया तो मैं मल्टीप्लाई कर लेता हूँ 24 से. माय गुडनेस, दैट्स ट्रिकी. आई होप आपको समझ में आया हो. 1 divided by 100 you will get moles of calcium carbonate. Since we have same molar ratio between calcium carbonate and carbon dioxide, so carbon dioxide has also 0.01 mole. Into 24 you will get 0.24 dmq. There's a shortcut I'm trying to apply. For option B, this is for option A, guys. For option B, mass is 1.0, MR of calcium nitrate is 164. Okay. One divided by 164, you will get 6.09 into 10 to the power this. So you will get moles how much? 6.09 into 10 to the power minus 3 moles. इसको मल्टीप्लाई करो 5 से और इसको डिवाइड करो 2 से, because we have 5 moles of gases and 2 moles of calcium nitrate. Into 24 karo, so that I'll get the volume. Into 5 divided by 2 into 24. It's going to be 0.36 dmq. Now option C, 1 को divide करो 148 से into 24 करो, so you will get moles of volume of carbon dioxide. 1 divided by 148 into 24, you will get 0.16 dmq. My goodness, option D के लिए भी working exactly इसी तरह से होगी. ठीक है, let me get the moles first. 1 divided by 212, so you will get 4.71 into 10 to the power minus 3 moles. इसको मल्टीप्लाई करो 5 से, because we have 5 moles of gases. डिवाइड करो 2 से, because 2 moles of strontium nitrate. Into 24 to get the volume. So into 5 divided by 2 into 24, you will get 0.28 dmq. So obviously the highest volume exists in option B, and therefore B is going to be the right answer. Okay, that's a tricky case. That's not an easy thing. Sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere forms acid rain. This occurs in 2 steps: oxidation of SO2 to SO3, formation of dilute H2SO4. Which row identifies the atmospheric catalyst for step 1 and the reagent for step 2? Well, this reaction takes place in the atmosphere, and this reaction causes acid rain. That indicates you need to remember 2 equations. In the first equation, NO2 oxidizes sulfur dioxide into sulfur trioxide in the atmosphere and reduces itself. Okay, first equation. Second, NO in the atmosphere reacts with oxygen in the air, will turn to nitrogen dioxide, and obviously nitrogen dioxide is acting as a catalyst because it is recovered at the end of the reaction. In the third step, this sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere combined with water in the atmosphere will turn to sulfuric acid. So these are the equations exist behind this information. Formation of dilute sulfuric acid, okay, that's what I did. And oxidation of SO2 to SO3, that's what I did. So which rows identifies the atmospheric catalyst? NO2 is the atmospheric catalyst for step 1. and the reagent for step 2. So in order to make sulfuric acid, I need water. So NO2 is the catalyst and water is basically the reagent in order to make sulfuric acid. So I believe C is going to be the right answer. Which statement about mechanism of SN1 reaction of halogenoalkane is correct? Halogenoalkane SN1 reaction all has two different properties. The first one is occur in 3-degree carbocation. Second thing, intermediate carbocation. Oh, my bad. Uh, occur in 3-degree alkyl halide. टर्शियल alkyl halide में होता है. Second thing, 3-degree carbocations are formed. And these 3-degree carbocations are stabilized due to the positive inductive effect of electron donating alkyl group. So in nucleophilic substitution reaction, nucleophile is substituted by another nucleophile. Examiner is saying electrophile. That statement is incorrect. One intermediate is formed from two reacting molecules. Intermediate two reacting molecules. Two reacting molecules. Two reacting molecules are not involved in the slow step. If you remember, only alkyl halide takes part in slow step. So only alkyl halide takes part in the slow step, which means not two reacting molecule, only one reacting molecule is involved, and therefore B is also incorrect. The intermediate is stabilized by adjacent alkyl groups. That's what I've told you. So I believe C could be the potential answer. Let's talk about D. The intermediate is uncharged. No, carbocations are not uncharged. They are basically positively charged, which means D is incorrect also. 26. The repeating unit of a polymer is shown. 3 statement about this polymer is listed. By the way, one more thing. If you remember, this monomer is different from this monomer. That means two different monomers are involved in order to make this polymer. Okay. The first monomer is going to be like this. And the second monomer has to be like this. Okay. Its disposal is hazardous because it produces toxic gases when burned. That's true. I have told you in the class that HCl is given off whenever this uh, part of the polymer is burnt. Two different monomers are used to make this polymer. That's true. The monomer of this polymer is this one. So by the way, these are two different monomers, which is why the name of the monomer cannot be like this. It has to be one chloroethene, it has to be enol, or one hydroxyethene. So this cannot be the name of this monomer because both of them are different. Okay, so जब दोनों different monomers है तो नाम तो same नहीं हो सकता ना. So technically, if two different monomers are involved, the name cannot be same, which is why third is incorrect, and therefore A is going to be the right answer. Okay. Question number 27. Methanoic acid has an acidic properties similar to those of other carboxylic acid. In addition, it can be oxidized by the same oxidizing agent as that are capable of oxidizing aldehydes. Which pair consists of two compounds that will give the same observation with Fehling reagent? By the way, Fehling reagent can react with methanoic acid and gives you brick red precipitates of copper monoxide. Also, Fehling solution can react with aldehyde. Aldehyde has a functional group of CHO, and it also gives you brick red precipitates of copper monoxide. So methanoic acid and aldehyde. So methanoic acid is correct. Let me take the aldehyde. It is not aldehyde, it is carboxylic acid. It is ester, it's wrong. It is ketone, wrong. It is aldehyde. So right answer is going to be D. That's easy, guys. Very, very easy. But one thing which I must say that you should know, the equation of methanoic acid. Since examiner is asking a question, which means we need to cover this segment also. So methanoic acid, when treated with Fehling reagent is a mixture of copper ions and hydroxide ions. Will turn to copper monoxide red precipitates. Water and carbon dioxide. My goodness. Okay, that's the equation behind this whole scenario. बाकी एल्डिहाइड की जो इक्वेशंस है वो तो मैंने आपको लिखवाई नहीं है, बैलेंस केमिकल इक्वेशंस. ठीक है. Next is which row gives pentane nitrile as one product? Pentane nitrile has a formula CH3, CH2, 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 and then Cn. How many carbon atoms we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon. So that's pentane nitrile. In order to make this nitrile, I need an alkyl halide of 4 carbon atom, so that it can react with potassium cyanide or sodium cyanide in ethanol to give propane nitrile. Now we need 4 carbon atom alkyl halide. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This could be this is right. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is also right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's also wrong. Okay. HCN is used for aldehyde and ketone only. Obviously, this is incorrect. Option A is incorrect. Can use in the presence of ethanol as solvent. That's right. Again, that's wrong because HCN can only be used for aldehyde and ketone. So option C and D both are incorrect because we need 4 carbon ka alkyl halide, whereas in this option C and D we have 5 carbon atoms ka alkyl halide. So right answer is going to be obviously B. Let me show you why B. CH3, CH2, CH2, and ye Br. When it is treated with potassium cyanide, nucleophilic substitution reaction takes place, and you will get what? And this is going to be your cyanide. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one is 5. 5 carbon atom cyanide. So that's propane nitride. That's this. Okay. Question number 29. An ester RCOR is hydrolyzed in alkaline condition. R dash and R double dash are different alkyl groups. That's what I've told you when we were discussing introduction to organic, that alkyl groups can be same, alkyl groups can be different. If alkyl groups are different, the one alkyl group is represented by R dash, the another alkyl group is represented by R double dash. Examiner is looking for the two products form. That's an easy thing. By the way, this is R dash C O O R double dash. What I've told you in the class, you need to break this bond. This oxygen will get hydrogen or water. And obviously it's going to be converted into ROH. And this CO will get OH of what? OH of water. And it will give you what? RCOOH. So these are the two possible products. Let me check. Product 2, R-OH, R-OH. Product 1, RCOOH, R-COOH. So right answer is going to be an A. Hold on. I didn't read the question fully. That's my mistake. My bad. Examiner is saying hydrolysis in alkaline condition. So if it is alkaline, obviously it will turn to salt, RCOO negative. So RCOO negative is where? RCOO negative, not this one. So RCOO negative is this, and therefore B is going to be the right answer. So you need to read the question very carefully. मैं थोड़ा सा खुश हो गया था कि यार question बहुत easy है. I didn't read the instruction of the examiner कि alkaline condition was used. Okay. So इतना खुश नहीं होना चाहिए. Question number 30. Which compound cannot be oxidized by acidified potassium dichromate 6 solution but does react with sodium metal? Sky sodium metal. Can react with alcohol. And carboxylic acid, which means compound could be alcohol or carboxylic acid. But one thing, examiner is saying potassium dichromate solution does not react. That means oxidation is not taking place. Oxidation not occur. No oxidation. And no oxidation means either it could be tertiary alcohol, because tertiary alcohol never oxidize, or it could be carboxylic acid. So what I need to know is either it could be 3-degree alcohol or carboxylic acid. This is 3-degree alcohol, and therefore A is going to be the right answer. This is ketone, wrong. This is alcohol, wrong. And it is primary alcohol, which is also wrong. Okay. This is secondary alcohol, wrong. Why secondary and primary alcohol are incorrect? See, examiner is saying cannot oxidize, whereas this primary alcohol can oxidize, which is why it is wrong. This secondary alcohol is ketone. Secondary alcohol can oxidize, which is also wrong. And therefore, A is going to be the right answer. Okay. Butane 2-one. So butane 2-one 2 on 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 Okay. Reacts with alkaline aqueous iodine. So this reagent shows examiner undergoes oxidation reaction or iodoform reaction. And you know, whenever we have CH3CO group एक साथ, positive test of iodoform will come. All right. How? Let me show you. This is your CH3. This CH3 will turn to CHI3, that is iodoform, and that will give you yellow precipitates. Plus CH3, CH2, CO, and OH comes from an O negative because medium is alkaline, so it's going to be salt. When it is treated, when this salt is treated with acid donates hydrogen ions, and obviously it will turn to propanoic acid. So propanoic acid and iodoform are going to be the product. So product M, triiodomethane is already given, and product M, examiner is looking for product M. So product M is basically propanoic acid. Propanoic acid, D is going to be the right answer. Okay. 4 reagents are listed. Which reagent, when added to ethanol, will rapidly produce a gas that turns blue litmus paper red? And that gas must be an acidic gas because it changes blue litmus into red. An examiner has given us ethanol. So let me give you ethanol. When treated with PCl5, it will turn to an alkyl halide, POCl3, and misty fumes of HCl. And that changes damp blue litmus paper into red. So this is going to be the correct option. In the second test, when ethanol is treated with thionyl chloride, which is a formula of SOCl2, it will turn to chloroethane plus sulfur dioxide and plus HCl. Remember, both these gases are acidic and changes damp blue litmus paper into red. So this statement is correct. Dilute HCl has nothing to do with ethanol. Aqueous KCl has nothing to do with ethanol. I mean to say KCl and HCl cannot react with ethanol. So only 3 and 4. The right answer is going to be D. Okay. 33. 4 drops of 1 chlorobutane, 1 bromobutane, and 1 iodobutane are put separately into 3 test tubes containing 1 cm cube of aqueous silver nitrate at 60 degrees Celsius. In each case, a hydrolysis reaction takes place. R represents C4H9, X represents the halogen atom, the rate of formation of cloudiness in the test tubes in the order this thing. Okay. Why is this? Obviously, when we move from 1 chlorobutane means it has CCl bond. 1 bromobutane means it has CBr bond. And 1 iodobutane means Ci bond. So when we move from chlorine to iodine, atomic size of halogen increases. If atomic size of halogen increases, bond length increases, which weakens the bond, and therefore bond energy value decreases. So if bond energy value decreases from RCl to Ri, the rate of formation becomes increases. So I believe A is going to be the right answer. Some students says, why not Bond polarity could be the right answer because bond polarity decreases. So when bond polarity decreases, what will happen then? When bond polarity decreases, covalent bond becomes weaker. When covalent bond becomes weaker, that means less energy is needed to break the bond, and therefore bond energy value decreases. So core explanation is bond energy instead of bond polarity. Okay. Question number 34. Propanoic acid reacts with lithium aluminum hydride to give organic product P. This is propanoic acid. It is reacting with lithium aluminum hydride. Since lithium aluminum hydride is a strong reducing agent, two-step reduction takes place, which is why primary alcohol or propane 1-ol is formed. That's the product P. Methanoic acid reacts with organic product P in the presence of few drops of concentrated acid to give organic compound Q. This is P and methanoic acid से reaction हो रहा है. So this is methanoic acid and this is P, that is propane 1-ol. They are reacting together, converting into a product. Carboxylic acid gives OH, alcohol gives H. They will turn into water, and the structure is going to be like this. And you know that's an ester. So whenever alcohol and carboxylic acid react together, an ester is formed. So organic product P is propane 1-ol. 1, 2, 3. This is propane 1-ol. 1, 2, 3. This is propane 1-ol. 1, 2, 3. This is aldehyde, wrong. This is aldehyde, wrong. Organic product Q. Q. Let me draw the skeletal structure. This is CH3. This is CH2. This is CH2. This is oxygen. That's the structure. This is CH3, this is CH2, this is CH2, this is oxygen, this is carbon double bond oxygen. हाइड्रोजन कभी भी शो नहीं किया जाता क्योंकि वो हमेशा स्केलेटल स्ट्रक्चर में मेंशन नहीं करते. So that's the structure of this skeletal formula of ester. So I think this is correct. So right answer is going to be B. Okay. Let me read it again. This is CH3. This is CH3. This is CH2. This is CH2. This is CH2. This is CH2. This is oxygen. This is oxygen. This is carbon double bonded oxygen. Carbon double bonded oxygen. Okay. Samples of the gases CH3, Cl, and chlorine are mixed together and irradiated with ultraviolet light. That's a free radical substitution reaction. Which compound is produced in the termination step in this reaction? I've told you in the class, we have discussed this in class. Whenever CH3Cl reacting with chlorine, it will turn to CH2 Cl radical and HCl is produced. Okay. Now this CH2Cl radical combined with the same radical again and will turn to CH2Cl and CH2Cl. So that's 1,2-dichloroethane. I believe C is going to be the right answer. Okay. This is going to be the organic intermediate when chloromethane reacting with chlorine. You can check even in my register in my lecture. Okay. So this intermediate are reacting together, converting into this compound. So this compound exists in a trace amount. That's what I've told you in the class. Question number 36. Propane 1-ol. This is propane 1-ol. is dehydrated by passing its vapor over hot aluminum oxide to give a hydrocarbon. So whenever dehydration takes place, whenever alcohol dehydrate, it will turn to an alkene, and this alkene must be propene. Which structure represents the product obtained when hydrocarbon reacts with bromine? When this hydrocarbon is treated with bromine, obviously bromine add होगा onto the double bonded adjacent carbon atom. So that is going to be the product. An examiner is looking for this product, and this product is given in only D. Therefore, D is going to be the right answer. Okay. That's an easy thing. We have done this so many times. Question number 37. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Alkane S, molecular formula C4H10, that is butane. S reacts with chlorine in the presence of sunlight to produce only two different monochloroalkanes. That's a huge question because examiner is looking for, this is CH3. Let me explain it to you. This is CH2, this is CH2, and this is CH3. When you treat it with chlorine in the presence of UV light, free radical substitution reaction takes place. So free radical substitution reaction takes place on this carbon atom and this carbon atom. Since both the carbon atoms are same, so it doesn't make any difference. So one of the possible radical you are getting like this, and reaction takes place on this carbon atom as well as this carbon atom. Since both the carbon atoms are same, which means the second possible monochloro product could be like this. Okay, so that's the first line of the question, and its formula is C4H9Cl. To look at this, this is C4H9Cl. This is also C4H9Cl. Okay, let me read the question again. Both of these monochloroalkanes are treated with hot ethanolic NaOH. When alkylite undergoes hot treated with alcoholic ethanoH, an alkene is formed. Elimination reaction gives alkene. Okay. My goodness. So when it undergoes elimination with NaOH, ethanolic NaOH, you will get CH3, CH2, CH double bond CH2, that's butadiene. Okay. And when it undergoes elimination, you will get CH3, CH double bond CH and then CH3. That's butadiene. Now this butadiene has cis trans isomerism. Butadiene doesn't have cis trans isomerism. But examiner has a different sort of question. Okay, let me read the question again. They both produces same alkene and no other organic products. ये जो C4H10 है, इसको हम इस तरह से भी तो लिख सकते हैं, 1 2 3 4, C4H9Cl. ओके, सेम एल्कीन तो नहीं आ रही इससे. It is not producing the same alkene. It is producing two different alkenes, right? So this might be the incorrect, uh, working. Let me show you. CH3, CH, CH3, and then CH3. 1 2 3 4 3 3 9. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! That's the formula of C4H10. That's not the formula of C4H10. Okay, because when you treat it with chlorine, you will get CH3C, CH3, CH, CH2Cl, all right? Or either you will get this product. My goodness, that's an excellent piece of question, yeah. And I absolutely loved it. And this. Look at this structure. Both of them have C4H9Cl formula. And when you treat it with ethanolic NaOH, oh my goodness, you will get CH3, C, CH3, double bond CH2, and that's 2-methyl propene. वैसे 2-methyl prop 1 ena, I know that, but मैं जल्दी जल्दी में लिख रहा हूँ ये सब कुछ, so that you will get the idea कि क्या हो रहा है. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. When this will treat with ethanolic NaOH, it will turn to CH3, C, CH3, double bond CH2. Oh my goodness, 2-methyl propene. And that was the clue examiner has given in the question, that two different structures are produced. These two different structures undergoes elimination to give same alkene. Oh, this is same alkene, but two different structures are produced. Both of them have C4H9 formula. Oh my goodness, that's an excellent question. Excellent question. ये मेरी तरफ से दिल एग्जामिनर को, ठीक है, बिकॉज बहुत सोचना पड़ा है इसके लिए. What is produced when tea is treated with hot concentrated acidified KMnO4? My bad. Another part of the question. Whenever KMnO4 is treated with this, हमने पढ़ा है क्लास में, hot KMnO4, you will get ketone, because अगर डबल बॉन्डेड कार्बन है तो it will turn to ketone, which is propanol. और डबल बॉन्ड के साथ जो CH2 होता है वो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और वाटर में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है. So this is going to be the final product. ये और ये लिखी हुई है मेरे ख्याल से, and that's your answer. So B is going to be the right answer. Okay. Oh, this is my favorite, guys. मैं यहाँ लिख देता हूँ. Farhan's favorite. Including structural isomer and stereoisomers, how many isomers are there? C2H2Br2. That's easy. C2H2Br2 shows cis and trans isomer. This is your cis. Oh, I'm getting saturated technically. बस जगह भी नहीं है. Hold on. That's an easy piece of cake. ये देखो, ये CBr था, मैंने क्लोरीन लिख लिया था. This is your cis isomer, because same group present on the same side of the double bonded carbon atom. If same groups are diagonally attached, it's going to be trans. And with respect to cis and trans, it must be the structural isomer. Okay, so total number of isomers is going to be 3. So B is going to be the right answer. All right. Question number 39. Which compounds exhibit stereoisomerism? When we say stereoisomerism, meaning we are looking for geometrical and optical both. All right. One dichloropropene. Propene is 1, 2, 3. Propene means one double bond must be present in the compound. One dichloro. So there is no geometrical, there is no optical in this. So option A is incorrect. Propene is C double bond C, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3 dichloro. So obviously this is not going to be the geometrical and optical because there is no chiral carbon in it. There is no geometrical isomerism. Why geometrical isomerism is not possible? If two similar groups are attached with a single double bonded carbon atom, then geometrical isomerism is not possible. 1, 2 dichloropropane. Propane 1, 2, 3. Single bond has to be between the carbon atom. 1 and 2. This is first chlorine. This is second chlorine. Let me attach hydrogen atom with it. So this is going to be the chiral carbon atom because 4 different groups are attached with this. This is the first group. This is the second group. This one is third. And this one is fourth. I believe C is going to be the right answer. Okay. Because it exhibits optical isomerism, it exhibits chiral carbon atom. Oh, yaar. Question number 40. The mass spectrum of CH3Cl shows molecular ion peak at M by E value of 50 with a relative abundance of 80%. Other peaks are present in the mass spectrum. What is seen in the mass spectrum at this value? By the way, we have done this example in class. Let me tell you one thing. You know, chlorine has 2 different isotopes. The first one is chlorine 35, and it will give you a mass of 50 with 18% abundance. Okay. The other one is 37. So if you get a mass, it's going to be 52. By the way, ये आपके पास molecular ion peak है. And this is going to be M plus 2 peak because 2 units की addition हुई है. Okay. An examiner is looking for the abundance of this, right? When we have one chlorine atom in the molecule, I've told you the ratio is going to be 1:3 or 3:1. It's going to be 3:1. So when we have 18% abundance, अगर 3% है let's suppose और 18% है, so अगर मेरे पास 1% होगा तो बताओ कितना है? So 18 divided by 3 is going to be how much? 6%. So this is going to be the 6%, guys. So this is going to be the 6%. Okay. So 52 is the peak with an abundance of 6%. Answer is going to be B. That's the end of this paper. Thank you very much, guys.